What's up, everybody? My name is Darren B-Side Young. I'm the Director of Business Development for DAS Audio here at our wonderful South Florida headquarters in Miami, Florida. And today, we're going to let you know about the DSP-226. So now getting into your DSP-226 software. Once you've installed the software from our website and included the audio drivers that are pre-configured with the software, the first thing you want to do is go to the location of that software, whether it's your desktop or in your programs menu. You want to right-click and go to Properties. Under Properties, we're going to go to the Compatibility tab and make sure that we select Change High DPI Settings. This is very important for the screen to properly display the framing and allow the command menu settings along with displaying all of the layers of the DSP software itself. The most important check here is going to be High DPI Scaling Override. You want to make sure this is checked. You might want to take a screenshot of this now because your program DFI and your high DFI scaling override should both be checked. And more importantly is you want to make sure it says System Enhance. Once you've done that, you can click OK. In your main properties window, for compatibility, you want to check Run this program as an administrator, especially if you're not the admin or you're borrowing someone else's computer that you may not have administration access to. So whenever you open the application, you want to make sure you run it in administrative mode or have this pre-checked under your properties. You're going to click Apply, then OK, and then you would open up your program as normal. So then you open up the DSP-226 software itself, and you're going to see a very similar window here, and we're going to connect your USB cable and turn your processor on. You may hear a ding letting you know that it is checked. First, you want to click on the remote command line and select RS-232. I now go to Find Online. And I see that it detects a 2-in 6-out processor, and now my communications port 3 is okay. I can now click that device, and when I'm ready to go online, I hover over and connect device. That will turn from red to green, and it will load all of the data from the processor into your interface. As you see here, I am now online with the DSP-226, and everything's good to go. The last preset used on my processor is what's going to show up by default. You have the ability to go directly off the interface of the processor and load a preset, or better yet, with the software, I can actually go directly to the settings menu. It takes a few minutes to refresh my user programs list, and I will see all of the 40 or 50 plus programs that are already pre-configured and pre-installed into the processor. Quite a few of these I've modified and relabeled and stored them in my first 2 or 3 slots of the presets. So here you can see it ranges. The first 2 or 3 would normally be pre-installed with something else. I've already modified them and saved them and renamed them. But then I have powered versions, and I have Action Series, RTEC Series, Vantech Series, even Quantum and Arco. If I wanted to start from scratch, I have the ability to go to Preset Program and start with a completely raw, scaled down skeleton of either 2x3 way, 1x6 way, 1x4 with 2 auxes, or as you can see, other options. But most of the user programs that are already pre-installed give you a good basis. If you don't see the model number you're looking for, make sure you check your sheet that comes with your DSP-226, scroll down this list, and you can select one of the generic powered versions. We're going to start with that because that's one of the most simplistic versions. And you have powered 1, 2, or 3, and you can build your presets and save your DSP preset yourself on the device as well as your computer. My favorite is the 2 tops, 2 subs, 2 aux. If you would like this preset, make sure you reach out to us via email. We'll make it available for you to download online free of charge. It's a very simple, good starting point, and I'm going to now load that program onto my DSP-226, and I will go to the main screen and show you everything that's connected to it. Simultaneously, my mutes and unmutes should be showing on the inputs of the screen here. The individual channels, whatever the last saved settings were, whether it's muted or unmuted, that is how it will load the next time you upload that preset. So if you've saved it muted, it will load muted. If you've saved it unmuted, it will load unmuted. So be very careful when you're loading and unloading presets. We always recommend that you mute everything just to be safe. So for example, I have the main screen. These are my 2 inputs. These are my 6 outputs. I have outputs 1 and 2, left and right. Outputs 3 and 4, left and right, that is A and B. And then outputs 5 and 6, I've summed the inputs together, and I use those as an aux, either a feed to another zone, another house system, or wherever else I need full range signal to go to. I have the ability to do that either individually, stereo left and right, or summed as I have it here. The next screen, as we are looking at here, is your gain. This is your actual gain input. You can actually go directly in to the numeric value and input the number you want. Make sure you hit enter after every value that you change. We strongly recommend you do all of this while you're muted so you don't accidentally blow your system. Those are my inputs, A and B. These are my individual outputs. Next, we have the delay settings. Depending on if you've measured it yourself in advance, or if you smarted the system and you're trying to tune something, or if you're doing something very simple and basic, your settings for milliseconds, meters, or feet depend on how you're measuring. I typically would go off of feet, and I would delay, for example, my subs, which are on outputs 2 and 3. I would delay that, the measurement or the number of feet that they are in reference to where the main hang or the main PA is. That's just an example. There's so many different ways you can set up your delays depending on if it's a fill, if it's a sub, where the speaker is placed, and what type of speaker it is. So you always want to make sure that you're not looking at exact hard values every time you look at delaying a speaker or a sub. But you have the ability to do your delay and various increment measurements. The parametric EQ here is where you want to fine-tune the system as well as do your crossover points, for example. For example, I go to output 6. I have those pretty much in full range, whereas output 1, I have a crossover because outputs 1 and 2 are the tops on this particular configuration. Outputs 3 and 4 are my subs. Therefore, I've crossed over the frequency between the tops and the subs somewhere between 90 to 94. You select the crossover type, high pass or low pass, and you choose whether you're using a Butterworth, whether you're using a Linkwitz-Riley, and the number here indicates to the minus dB reference. So for example, I'll do a Butterworth, or should I say a Linkwitz-Riley, which is a little bit slower slope, versus a Butterworth, which is a lot sharper and harder. Butterworth minus 48 is even steeper and more specific to the frequencies. You also have the ability to slide the crossover point using the scale here instead of doing a low pass or high pass crossover point. So you have two different ways of doing crossovers. Last but not least is going to be your compression setting. This is very, very, very important to understand. You study your environment and study your compression ratio of attack and release as well as the threshold. It's very easy to overcompress your sound for fear of someone damaging your audio system. A lot of times I've walked into a sound system where everything sounds dull and flat and there's almost no life, but it's very loud. And in many cases and many times, they put a very hard, strict, restrictive compressor on the entire system to protect it from someone damaging it. And once again, you can go back to your settings here. You have your device information. I have the ability to change the program name, reload the program, or save it as I want. Now, I'm not going to save any of the settings I just showed you. I want to keep the setting I have. But if I was pleased with those measurements and changes that I made, I would make sure I have that slot selected on the user program, and then I would save that program. It's very important that you understand you have two levels of saving when it comes to modifying pre-existing presets. I first save it directly on the device, and as a backup, I would save it to my computer. That way, I always have a redundant copy of my favorite preset. Once again, make sure you pre-selected the slot you want to save it in. You save that program to that slot, and then you would save that program to your computer. If you wanted to take your settings from your computer and bring them to a friend's DSP, you have the ability to load from the PC to that person's device. And that is where you would load from PC. And then if you made changes, you would save them directly on that device. Navigation menu here again, I'm showing I'm connected. I have home. This setting shows the same setting screen we just left. The link here allows you to link inputs and outputs if you wanted to control entire groups or inputs and outputs simultaneously. You can link input A and B, or you can link the outputs, or as I've chosen to not link any of them, you would just basically have one per one. So 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're not linked together. Once you've linked your inputs and outputs, let's say you mute, for example, output 1 and it's linked to 2, you're automatically going to mute and unmute anything that is linked together. I'm going to cancel out that. This is your copy. I strongly recommend you learn to set one output at a time, and it's very easy to copy your favorite output setting to another output. So for example, when I first created 2 tops, 2 subs, 2 aux preset, I only did one output. I did output 1, and then I copied it to 2. I did output 3, and then I copied it to 4. I did output 5. Obviously, I copied it to 6. So those are examples of how you would want to copy your output settings to make it a lot faster for you to set up your DSP. Again, I have the ability to save. I can rename the program, and I can save it to my computer, as well as loading it and saving it to and from my device. If you wanted to open the file, that's where you would do that as well. These command lines are a little bit redundant, but it gives you the ability to go in from different points and access the same data. Now we're going to show you how to utilize some of the same controls and settings directly off of the device itself. First, I'm going to disconnect my device so that I have access directly off of the interface. Here, you can see I have 2 tops, 2 subs, 2 aux already preloaded. If I wanted to load up another preset, I would do that by pressing recall, and I would go to the user program that I want. This, for example, is my template. I'm going to press save enter to load another preset. So now I'm on preset number 2. It gives me the name and the ID. Here, I can enter and restore or resave any of the data or changes that I may have made. I'm going to back out of that, and I'm going to show you how to go in and mute and unmute your inputs. You can mute and unmute your outputs. And if I wanted to adjust an output, for example, which is typical, if I'm doing subs, tops, I press and hold, and now I'm in the edit mode. I'm on output number 1, parametric EQ. If I wanted to back up, I am on now output number 1. I'm doing the high pass filter. I can back up output. This is my delay. This would be my phase, and then the actual gain. So any output I press and hold, now I am on output 4. And I can go through the gain. So you have gain, phase, delay, your crossover or your high pass filter, low pass filter. Even the parametric EQ, you can go in with the cursor and actually jump between the individual columns and rows. I'm now looking at the compressor limiter here, and then the actual source of A and B, which I have stereo on 1 and 2, stereo on 3 and 4, and then I've summed them together on 5 and summed them together on 6. Again, I can use the cursor on any of these to jump between the different levels and parameters. So if I did not have a computer, I could actually go in, use the interface of the processor to do everything that I would normally do, but it will take a lot more time, which is why we recommend the software for that. And in this case, once you've made your favorite 2 or 3 presets, you're only doing something just as simple as recalling the program that you would like. You bring my cursor over, recall, program 1 or 2. The name will automatically show up as you switch. Don't worry, you have not done anything until you have hit save and enter, and it will reload that preset. And as you see, last time I saved it with channel 2 unmuted, which is a no-no. I'll have to make sure I can go in, mute that, and now I'm going to save store user program on 1. And we're going to hit save enter. It's going to ask, are you sure? Are you sure you're sure? You're going to click yes. And now, if I switch to recall and load program 2, I'll unmute everything just to show you. Now I'm going to recall back at program 1, save or enter. And now that preset of output 2, which I forgot to mute last time, I saved it after I muted it. And now it is automatically going to load as I last saved it. That's your DSP-226. Make sure you check out online. If you want to know more info about this and any of the other processors that we have, check out www.dasaudio.com for more information. Make sure you reach out to us. You can email me directly, dyoung@dasaudio.com. If you wanted some of these presets that I've already pre-configured and stored, we'll put them on a drive for you where you can download them from a cloud. Thanks for watching.